It was 1966 September, and Mukunda Goswami, Michael Grant started with one ray going through Prabhupada's program. And there are around 25 people coming regularly, and the point where we were discussing was the day was Janmashtami. Prabhupada said, today is a very special day to people who didn't know who is Krishna. And he said it is like Krishna's Janmashtami is like your Christmas. And these people could not correlate what it is. But anyway, Prabhupada gave the formula how they will celebrate Krishna Janmashtami. They said they will be in the temple room from early morning hour until 12 o'clock, midnight, and fasting. And what they have supposed to do, Prabhupada said, half an hour we do kirtan, half an hour we do chanting, and half an hour Prabhupada would speak. And like that, 1 hour, 30 minutes is a cycle. After 1 hour 30 minutes again, another cycle. And this would go on. And Michael Grant was thinking, is it possible? He was thinking up to midnight, how can he remain on fast? His girlfriend, Jan, was with him as well. And she was not feeling the stress of remaining on fast. And anyway, so almost like 12:30 p.m., the program continued the way Prabhupada did. Prabhupada explained what is Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada explained that how this material world is not a place for a gentleman, and how if we remember Krishna, we will go back to Godhead. And Prabhupada said the purpose of Krishna appearing in this material world. And so there, Prabhupada at 12:30, so from 7 o'clock to 12:30, this is almost 5.5 hours. Imagine all these 25 Americans, boys and girls, are sitting with Prabhupada from the morning until 12:30. They are sitting in the presence of a pure devotee. Obviously, they are from a different culture. Not only it's a culture, it's an anti-culture to Indian Krishna conscious way of life, because, the culture, of course, there is no distinction now what is Indian culture and American culture. The global culture is meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. This is the global culture now, whether you are in India or America. But at least those days when Prabhupada went to America, India was a much better place. And when I grew up, I am aware of year 1972 onwards, I am aware, although I was born before, but 72 onwards, I am almost aware. And very, very clearly, I remember my days from 1975 onwards, and I have seen a beautiful India. Of course, I was from Odisha, so for me, India means Odisha. So I have seen the Odisha, and from north to south of Odisha. So I can tell Odisha was a much better place those days. So Prabhupada time, it must be great. And Anyhow, so Prabhupada was thinking that how he can speak about Krishna to these people. And 5.5 hours, 25, around 25 boys and girls sitting with Prabhupada for 5.5 hours. And then at 12:30, Prabhupada said, if you are feeling hungry, you can eat some sugar candy. And these people, they could not figure out what is sugar candy. And they were talking among each other, saying, is rock candy? Is it that same rock candy? So, and then Prabhupada started speaking about his meeting with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and how did he give him instruction that he must preach in English. And then also there was when Prabhupada met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was a grihastha already. He had a son, and he was having a job in a big chemical industry, chemist industry, and of course, Prabhupada was thinking, what should you do? Whether he should join Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's mission full time or he should stay back. And Prabhupada laments that why didn't he join from the very day he met his spiritual master. So, he was telling that how Krishna consciousness must be preached irrespective of caste, creed, nationality, because this is a science, this is the dharma of every soul, and soul has no nationality, gender, and so forth. And how he was being criticized for coming to America and trying to have some Western followers. And then he was telling that although your culture is so antithesis to Krishna conscious culture, but if you accept Krishna consciousness, you will attain divinity. So he was encouraging them, and then he said, okay, now if you are feeling hungry, you can have some sugar candy. So let's start from there. So Jan has gone out to get some sugar candy for Michael Grant. And we were there, we will start reading from there. I'll go, Jan said. I don't feel that bad. I'll get it. I need some air anyway. Okay, you got money? Okay, go. But don't be long. We are dying in here. It was an hour and a half later when she came back with 3 packets of lifesavers. That's sugar candy, I asked. Charlie looked skeptical too. Well, it's sugar, it's candy, she shot back. They would never heard of rock candy. That's the clear crystal sugary stuff, I think. They said I would have to go to Midtown and look around. They thought a place called Stover's on 53rd Street might have it, but I'm too weak to hunt for it. A bus to Midtown is just too much today. It's hot out. Here you go. Sitting cross-legged on the rug, I quickly broke open one of the lifesaver packs. I hoped the person sitting in front of me obscured me from the Swami's view. I pretended I was scratching my face and eased a yellow lemon-flavored one into my mouth as inconspicuously as possible. I passed a red one to Charlie, who did the same. The sugar candy perked us up a bit. Before I knew it, the afternoon had passed, and it was 7 o'clock. So 7 o'clock to 7 o'clock, 12 hours, just one sugar candy pack. That is the day of Mr. Michael Grant. At 8:30, the heat had become bearable. It was starting to get dark. We had been in the temple with the Swami for 12 hours straight. About 8:30, two Indian couples in their 30s arrived at the temple. They opened the door without knocking, sat down cross-legged on the floor as if they had been invited, were supposed to be there. The men were dressed in Western clothing, black pants and sports jackets. The women were brightly colored saris. From his seat at the head of the temple, the Swami smiled and nodded to them. They nodded back. The Swami said something loud to them in Hindi. One of the men replied in an equally loud voice. Then unexpectedly Swami turned to us. So I would like to invite the young devotees of Krishna present here to speak some of their realization about Krishna consciousness. Ray, can you speak something about Krishna consciousness? What you have realized? You see how Prabhupada put this. Ray is one of the inner circle of Srila Prabhupada's people around him. And Michael Grant was not, at that time, not within the inner circle. And when two couples of Indian couples, they were sitting, Prabhupada wanted to demonstrate some of his followers how much they have understood about Krishna consciousness. So Ray looked surprised. His face went white. After about half a minute and 3 loud throat clears, he said, "Well, I like the philosophy and I like the atmosphere too. I think I would like to dedicate myself more to Krishna. I'm not the body, and heat and cold cannot affect me like they used to. This chanting is a way of life. We are not the body, and materialism is not good for us. I think anyone who wants to get high can do it without drugs by chanting. Well, it makes you feel good. It's legal. That's what I like about it. Also, it does not cost anything. Oh, that's another good thing about it. You can imagine, these people are even 17, 18-year-old, and in their innocent style, they are speaking why they are there. They are actually, I don't think that they are able to follow at that time. It is this Swami's ambience, this Swami's presence, this Swami's grace is shaping their future life. He nodded his head, looking straight at the Swami, signaling that his speech was over. And the Swami looked at Charlie. Wow, Mr. Charlie, speak something about your realization of Krishna consciousness. After a long silence, Charlie shallowed and closed his eyes like the Swami did. He said, I remember also, most of the time when we speak, we close our eyes. Why we close our eyes? Because we want to speak from within, right? That's why we speak, close our eyes. It's not that you have memorized something and then you will vomit everything. No. So Charlie, well, I am not a good speaker, but anyway, Krishna consciousness is, a way to be peaceful inside. You don't have to look for a place. outside yourself. You are not the body. So that's it. Yeah, you can be satisfied. Yeah, satisfied. To know, you don't have to get, all worked up. To do anything. He opened his eyes, looked around at the audience, then at the Swami, then at the round picture of Radha and Krishna on the wall, and then back to the Swami. Then he closed his eyes again. It's like being peaceful all the time. So chanting, does it. I think it will work okay for anyone. Anyone who tries. So we are not these bodies. That's what it is, So if everyone tries it, it works. You have to try it. Though don't be afraid. Just try and you will see. You will know. It really works. And think, well, that's it. He put his head down and looked at the floor. Then Prabhupada turned to another, this time a girl. Miss Dennis, you can speak something about Krishna consciousness. Me? Dennis was about 16, had been coming to the Swami's evening program for past week or so. She looked over her left shoulder at the Indian guests sitting on the rock. They were expressionless. Well, if you chant, it's hard to stop. You should not stop. It makes you thinking clearer. You can even see better. I think so. If your heart is in it, you can chant every day. Have anything you want. Inside, I guess it's hard at first, but you have to hear the Swami speak. You will feel better, more at ease, slowly. More comfortable. It's nice way to spend free time instead of trying to do things when you don't know what's really going to happen. Like drugs and stuff. Swami smiled at her. Thank you very much, he said. Please do not pick me. Please, not me, I thought. Michael Grant. I would request our guests to speak, he said. So guest means to Indian couples. One of the Indian men smoothed his mustache and spoke in English with a thick Indian accent. We were walking down street and looked in window and thought I was in India. So we walked in. We are in Indian Merchant Marines. I'm a captain. Our ship is Golconda. We have ship in Newark. He paused. I can say some Gita slokas, he said, like he was making a suggestion. And the Swami raised his chin and said, so recite. Staring, the Swami, the man waited for a few seconds, looked at the ceiling and then started singing verse. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. He sang and continued for several minutes, chanting what I thought was an impressive number of verses by heart. He sang the same melody of each verse. Being a musician, I took note of the melody. It was a tetrachord, the first 4 notes of a major scale. I thought of it as a part of tradition I should be learning. His singing was melodious and heartfelt. It seemed to me as though a piece of India had suddenly been brought into our midst and was right there in the room between the Swami and these people. I realized for the first time how the philosophy of Swami was teaching was not just a philosophy, but was a culture. Krishna consciousness was not just the idea of one person, the Swami, but was something greater. It wasn't just about God and spiritual world. It was a way of life that was embraced by an entire civilization. As I listened to the man sing, India seemed less mysterious and less unknown. At that moment, I knew that I would go there. The man paused and looked at the Swami. Some of the devotees had turned around to stare at him. He resumed his chanting. After about 5 more minutes, he nodded at the Swami and stopped. Thank you very much, said the Swami, beaming at his visitors. I had forgotten all about my gnawing hunger and knew I would make it through the last few hours till midnight. The following day, Friday, September 9th, the Swami performed our initiation ceremony. Jan had decided she would get initiated too. So the two of us turned up together at the temple that evening. We were directed upstairs to the Swami's small apartment, where we were told the ceremony was to take place. The main room of the apartment, where the Swami and his followers took their meals, was already full of people. The Swami sat in the middle of the room, and the front of a small rectangular mound of soil taken from the apartment's building's small courtyard. Pieces of an orange crate had been cut into kindling and were piled up next to him. A small pot of melted golden ghee was on the floor by his side. To his right was a small altar, a box draped with a red and blue velvet cloth, upon which sat an El Greco-like picture, a photo of painting. The figure in the picture looked like a Christian saint, complete with halo. I wasn't sure who he was. Swami mentioned for the two of us to sit in front of him, along with several of his core group, a few who were less involved like we were. I counted the number of initiates, 11, 10 men and Jan. I sat on the floor with Jan on my left, Carl on my right. Ray passed us each a string of large red beads, the japa beads he had brought for us the other day. Begin chanting, the Swami requested. The sound of Hare Krishna mantra filled the small room. After a few moments, the Swami indicated we should stop. Repeat the following mantra after me, he said. Om. We responded. Om apavitra pavitrava sarvavastham gatopi va yasmaret pundarikakyam sabaya bhantaraha suchihi. On that day, Professor Madhusudan Mukund, I told him to chant, and words are not coming from his mouth. क्या रे अभी याद है? So, the Swami continued the word for word chant for about 1 minute, then explained its meaning. Apavitra means unclean, pavitra means clean. So anyone who may be unclean or clean doesn't matter. In whatever condition one may be, either unclean or clean, if that person remembers Krishna, who has lotus eyes, that person immediately becomes cleansed, internally and externally. So, dear devotees, I think this must be the first Janmashtami. Prabhupada after reaching 1966, this is the first Janmashtami Prabhupada observed. And see, within Janmashtami started from Kolkata, and Janmashtami he is celebrating in Newark just after 1 year. And he has 25 odd devotees who are regularly coming to his program. Can you imagine? And next day, on his own appearance day, he is giving initiation to 11 people. Okay? It's an amazing journey. It's an amazing journey. This 1 year, and these 11 people, wherever they are, Srila Prabhupada would take care of them. Because our relationship is eternal. By Krishna's arrangement, we come in contact with each other, inspire each other to practice Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada is initiating 11 people. Now I will explain the meaning of this initiation ceremony. This initiation means purification. We are all impure in this material world. Therefore, birth, death, old age and disease have overcome us. So in order to overcome these miseries, we must voluntarily accept some tapasya, some sacrifice, some rules and regulations. Why do we need to accept a spiritual master? To accept a spiritual master is not a hobby. One who is interested in hearing about transcendental subject matter. Ramante yogina anante, the unlimited, infinite subject matter. For him, a spiritual master is needed, not for all. So we must accept a spiritual master who can teach us about God. And who is such a person? That also is stated in the Upanishad. It is said, Srotriyam Brahma Nishtam. The spiritual master must come down in disciplic succession. As a result of such authorized succession, must be firmly convinced in Brahman. And the student must surrender himself to the spiritual master for instruction. Why? Because spiritual master is a representative of God. A spiritual master is supposed to spread Krishna consciousness, make everyone Krishna conscious. The disciples should respect the spiritual master as much as God himself, because he is the most confidential servant of God. Not that spiritual master is God, no, but he is to be respected as such because he gives us the words of disciplic succession, the words of God. I knew Ray had gotten things a bit wrong, I thought, reassured that my understanding of Swami's role had been correct. So this initiation is called Harinama initiation, first initiation. The spiritual master gives disciple Harinama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. To chant and thus be purified. Later some of you may receive second initiation, Brahmin initiation. And another mantra is given then. So along with chanting Hare Krishna, you must follow some rules and regulations. If we want to purify ourselves, then 4 principles must be followed. The principles are no illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, and no gambling. These 4 things are very prominent everywhere in Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel. Anyone indulging in these 4 things, they cannot imagine where they are, who is God, how they will be free from this conditional life. So this is purificatory process. Initiation means beginning of your purificatory process. If we are serious about purification, then we must follow these 4 principles. So Swami is known to his American disciples those days, not Srila Prabhupada. It became later. So Swami as known to people that time. Srila Prabhupada was known to his audience, to his followers that time. So Swami's initiation to these people was very clear. They have to chant 16 rounds and they have to follow 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, and no intoxication. Okay? So this is very, very clear. And this is necessary for our inner purification before we can internalize anything that is there in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Like that small boy yesterday or day before yesterday. When he asked that, Prabhuji, inside the chapel also God is there. That's a well thought out thing. Everywhere God is there. I remember in our childhood days when ladies, they walk, small girls when they walk and noise comes out, they are severely chastised. Severely chastised. That means we should walk so consciously that there is no noise while walking. Okay? And there is a spirit behind it. It is not only ladies, So that is because chauvinistic society, male chauvinistic, so they only looked at ladies. But it is for both ladies and gents equally. We should walk over the earth in such a way, very silently. Okay? Not dug, 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 dug. Right? So we are walking on the lap of Mother Earth. Alright? So everywhere there is Krishna. Where is there is no Krishna? Right? Krishna is there everywhere. But then we cannot worship Krishna everywhere because we are not qualified. So that's why we have to worship Krishna in the altar, in the deity form. We have to worship Krishna in the sound form. Oh, Sunil, you have shifted. So we have to worship Krishna in the sound form. Okay? And mantra is very, what you saw, all those people, they liked chanting. Can you imagine? Prabhupada went, but in his chanting there is so much of purity. These people, they were suffering. Hangsara davana lalida loka tranaya karunya gana gana tvam praptasya kalyana gunana vasya vande guru sri charana ravinda. These people, they were suffering. We are also suffering. I can tell you, in India, all young people are suffering from sex desire. We have no way, we have no provision how to help them. They are all suffering from sex desire. In 1995, I went to Hyderabad and I met a small Brahmin boy, and he was regularly going to Abid's temple. And I was not seeing him in the afternoon. I said, what happened? Nay, Prabhuji, I am suffering from sex desire, and that's why I am going to nearby Chinmayananda ashram where they are teaching us yogasana, pranayama. So I said, you don't need that. I said, if you attend Mangala Arti every day and chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, if you are waking up at 3 o'clock, your sex desire will go away. Finished, full stop. What is this yoga, asana, pranayama, gone? The Swami paused for a moment, eyeing us all carefully to let us observe his instruction. Now he said, I will give spiritual names, Sanskrit names. When we give some spiritual name, that name is the name of Krishna, and it is followed by a dasa or dasi, man and woman. Dasa means servant of. So you please take your beads. You all have 108 beads. John and I sought a look over at Ray, who we assumed had strung up our beads. He nodded at us. We looked back at Swami and nodded to him. We looked back at the Swami and nodded to him. Good. So we should chant whole Hare Krishna mantra on each bead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There is no better form of meditation than meditation on the sound form of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. There is no better sweet kirtan than the kirtan of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. There is, it is the best that we can have. And this mantra can take us back to Godhead directly. This mantra is fully opulent and complete in itself. It is completely independent because it is non-different from Krishna. And you must chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra beads every day. Yes? Each of you know. Now please pass beads to me one at a time. Ray was sitting closest to the Swami. He took his beads off from around his neck and gave them to the Swami. Now we'll all chant one round, the Swami said. When he finished one round, the Swami said, so, Ray, your spiritual name is Rai Ram Das. Smiling, he handed Ray back his set of large red beads. Next beads, Karl gave his set to the Swami. We chanted another round. Karl, your name is Karlapati Das. Is written Karlapati. What is Kalapati also? Acha, Kalapati, Kalapati. I say it should be Kalapati. Okay. One by one, each initiate passed their beads to Swami, who chanted on them and then gave the new name. Finally, it was my turn. I handed my string bead to Swami. We began chanting again. Swami fingered each bead as he chanted the mantra. So, Mr. Michael, he said, when we had finished another round, 11 people, 11 rounds. Your spiritual name is Mukunda Dasa Adhikari. Mukunda is the name of Krishna, meaning giver of liberation. Jan, you please now give me your beads. We chanted another round. The Swami gave Jan her name. Your spiritual name is Janaki Devi Dasi. This is the name of Lord Ram's consort, Sita, the daughter of one king, Janaka. He handed Jan her beads. Now you please each touch your beads to feet of the Lord Chaitanya. I remember the Swami mentioning Chaitanya before, but I could not remember exactly in what context. Ray gestured toward the small altar. I followed the others and touched my large red beads to the feet of the figure in the picture, and then took my seat once again. Saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's nice billboard, not billboard, nice portrait. Poster, nice poster or a portrait. Portrait was there, and everybody touched their bead to that, to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Srila Prabhupada said, everyone, that you go and touch your bead, to touch your mala to the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and everybody followed. And the Swami lit a whole handful of incense sticks and placed them at regular intervals around the earthen mound. As the fragrant smoke wafted through the small room, he took small pinches of colored powder and made crisscross lines over the mound. Then arranged the smallest of the wooden sticks in a little pyramid on top of mound. He lit a fire into which he fed larger and larger pieces of orange crate. He began to chant mantras word by word in a loud, deep voice. We repeated each word after him. Om Ajnanati Mirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakyuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. After each verse, Swami poured a ladle full of ghee onto fire. It got bigger and bigger until the flames reached up almost to the ceiling. This was unlike any sacrament I had ever been part of. I remember the rituals in synagogue, how hollow, inexplicable, and pointless I found them. No one had ever tried to explain to me the meaning behind them. They did not seem to know why they were taking part either. this was not that much different in the sense that I still didn't know very much about what was going on. What was different was that I knew this Swami knew. This somehow made the ceremony seem more genuine. The room's one window was closed and the room was gradually filling with smoke. Although my eyes were watering, I was mesmerized by the ceremony. Although it was more than just the enthralling spectacle of having a fire burning on the floor in the middle of the apartment. This ritual felt sacred. I had gone into the initiation casually, but this had become more than an informal, relaxed event. It was more like a change from one life to another, an oath to follow a philosophy, to accept a particular person as my teacher for life. I had crossed the Rubicon. What is Rubicon? No, this is Rubicon. I had crossed the Rubicon. Anybody who could explain what is the meaning of that? My guide on the journey was a Swami, this person who had become a friend, but was still a teacher. I liked him. I trusted him because unlike the other people of the cloth I had met, he lived his life by the philosophy he spoke. I felt that ceremony was between him and each of his initiates on a personal level. Unlike the Western religious rituals I had attended, this one was not a big affair. There was no ornate high ceiling, pews, organs, stained glass, choirs, or large congregation made up of family and friends. Here, in the modest, austere setting, the ceremony was about the agreement made between him and me, the stilling of a commitment and sacrament that was not dependent on anyone or anything else. I felt happy that I was now officially part of Swami's mission, and although he looked solemn as he concluded the ceremony, I could sense that he too was happy. Srila Prabhupada started his journey on Janmashtami, celebrated his Janmashtami in 26 2nd Avenue, and there he initiated next day. On his own appearance day, 11 disciples. So passing a Rubicon means you have entered such an important phase of your life. That means you have transcended a level and have gone to a level where you cannot embrace the lower mode. Okay. So, what a nice thing to see. What time it is now? Okay, we can continue, dear devotees. The day after our initiation, Janaki's sister Joan flew in from Oregon for our wedding. So, this Joan will be later Jamuna Mataji. We had a teacher in Arisha Rourkela. He was a Bihari, and his name was Jamuna Prasad. Very nice, sweet person. So when I became Krishna conscious, I started appreciating most of these people. I had another teacher in Arisha Rourkela. His name was Sankarshana Raut. Later he became life member of ISKCON. She was the only member of either of our families to attend. On the day of wedding, Janaki and a handful of others decorated the Swami's apartment with ornaments made up of leaves which were strung from upper corners of the room. As the decorated Swami moved around the kitchen preparing our wedding feast. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Prabhupada is arranging the marriage of Michael Grant, now Mukunda Das Adhikari, and Janaki Devidasi. And it is amazing that Prabhupada is cooking their marriage feast as well. On the day of wedding, Janaki and a handful of others decorated the Swami's apartment with ornaments made up of leaves which were strung from the upper corners of the room. As the decorated, the Swami moved around the kitchen preparing our wedding feast. He had Joan, his sole assistant, busily engaged in rolling and folding potato pastries. Finally, Janaki and I were sitting before the Swami for the second time that week, this time dressed in our wedding clothes, garlanded with fresh flowers, crammed into the small room were the 18 friends we had invited. In front of the Swami were a now familiar mound of soil and a bowl of ghee. Janaki looked dazzling in her red sari. So I am very happy that Mukunda and Janaki are today becoming married, the Swami said. Actually, I am a sannyasi, retired from married life. It is not the business of sannyasi to take part in marriage ceremony. But in this country, just to save my students from sinful activities, I am personally taking interest. I see that here in New York, most of the boys and girls, they are keeping the boyfriend and girlfriend. So I am requesting all my students that if you want to make progress in spiritual life, you have to refrain from 4 kinds of sinful activities. Illicit sex life, first, second, non-vegetarian diet, third, intoxication, fourth, gambling. Unless one is free from these 4 principal activities, one cannot make progress in spiritual life. According to our Vaishnava principles, marriage is allowed because there is male, there is female. Why they should not unite? This is proper. Dear devotees, so India has become almost like America now. All the cities, Bangalore, Delhi, people are living, boys and girls are living together in live-in relationship. What is live-in? This is illicit sex. And this is too bad. As I had told you, when I was in Germany, at some point of time I was surprised that you may be staying in a place and almost like 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer area, there will be a legalized prostitute place. So in Germany there was a very popular saying that time that we will not marry, because marriage means you get trapped by laws, and particularly the laws in favor of the woman is so tilted, the men were hesitant to make a commitment to marriage. So they said, anyway, we are getting sex free, not free, paying money. So why we have to marry? So what that resulted, I don't know what is the status of Germany now. Those days in Germany, German population was shrinking. And Germans have brought in Turkeys as their slaves. But the Turkeys, their population is increasing. So in the beginning they were 1% or 5%. Now in German population that time, I don't know, around 20% or so, they are Turkish population. So there was a World Cup football, and Turkey entered into semi-final for the first time. And the Turkeys, they are living in Germany, but they are holding the Turkey flag in biker, two-wheeler, and moving all around. And these Germans are becoming so angry. I think German was knocked out probably that do. Or whatever it is. And I have seen that how these Germans were looking at them. But what can you do? This is neither your land or not Turkey's land. Who will invade whom? You don't know. Finally, ultimately, everything belongs to Krishna. And we say, this is our German land, this is our Indian land. So for me, as I have told you, these borders are simply water on the, a line on the water. Always you must remember this. The so-called borders are simply line in the water. Okay. Everybody, everything is God's kingdom. So as long as we are Krishna conscious, we automatically don't make any distinction. We don't make any distinction. The Swami turned his attention from the audience toward us. I request that you live happily together. Please do everything in a relationship with Krishna. Live a pure life and be happy in this life and next life. Now you all please chant Hare Krishna. The room once again filled with the sound of mantra while Swami lit the fire. Once it had begun to crackle, he said, Janaki, please repeat. Mukunda, I agree to serve you throughout my life. Mukunda, I agree to serve you throughout my life, she said. Mukunda, you say, Janaki, I accept you as my wife and will take charge of your life in all conditions. Janaki, I accept you as my wife and will take charge of your life in all conditions. So Prabhupada is prompting and girlfriend and boyfriend. Now they have become husband and wife. Now you each exchange garlands. Yes, now Mukunda, you cover your head with her sari and now you change places. You come to this side, you go to that side. Actually during marriage this happens. So before marriage, the boy will sit in one side and girls other side, and after marriage they will change their side. Good. Now you are husband and wife. The Swami began chanting mantras, ladling ghee into the fire as he had at our initiation. For Janaki and me, this was an exciting way to formally begin our married life without materialistic trappings that were usually part of Western weddings. Getting married, sitting in front of a blazing fire on the floor of Newark apartment with only a few friends without our families felt alternative, unique and counter-cultural and well, just right. The feast the Swami had prepared was awe-inspiring. Spicy rice with chunk of homemade cheese and red peppers. Spicy rice means fried rice. Homemade cheese and red pepper paneer. Sweet and sour dal. Sweet and sour dal. Richly spiced chickpea stew. Chana. Curried potatoes with peas and eggplant. Dumpling. Aloo. Bangan, aloo, peas, matter. Dumplings in yogurt sauce. Sprinkled with coriander leaves and freshly ground spices. Whole wheat fried flat breads. Pudi. Deep fried cauliflower fritters. Pakora. Prabhupada said, every lunch that we offer to Krishna must have pakora. That's why I make pakoras today. Also we made a pakora, but it was not good. Samosa, bread pakora. It was not good. Tasty tha? Shaped curry tha, but it was tasty. मुझे तो नहीं लगा.
तुम्हें चाइनीज टेस्ट आया नहीं है ना, अभी भी इंडियन टेस्ट में हो.
कितना आइटम भाई. फ्लैकी पोटैटो पेस्ट्रीज, फ्लैकी पोटैटो पेस्ट्रीज, चंकी टोमेटो चटनी. See chutney. See, all these varieties must be there in a lunch for Krishna. Chaturvidha. Chaturvidha Sri Bhagavat Prasado Swadarna Truptan Hari Bhakta Sangan Krutaiva Truptim Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam. Then chunky tomato chutney, spongy paneer globes floating in a sauce of condensed milk, squares of milk fudge. This is rasgulla. Rasmalai or rasgulla, whatever it is. अब देखो, मुझे तो हमारा जो शादी में क्या क्या बना था मुझे पता भी नहीं है. मैं खाना भी नहीं खाया था उस दिन. और ये सब याद रखे हैं, लिखे हैं क्या क्या बना है एक एक करके. So they made their, it is actually, their marriage was completely transcendental. They have recorded everything in detail. We sat with our guest in a row on the floor of his apartment, amazed as disc after disc emerged from kitchen. Several of our macrobiotic guests threw caution to the wind and abandoned themselves to Swami's culinary delight. So Prabhupada has cooked. Prabhupada has cooked means Radharani special. So when Prabhupada cooks means he is personally inspired by Srimati Radharani. So it's special. Obviously it's special. Krishna has enjoyed those food and they are enjoying. The stuff is just too good to resist. An old friend from my musical past exclaimed as the Swami appeared with a bowl of sweet condensed saffron yogurt. I had to agree. Jan and I had never seen or tasted anything like this before. Can you imagine these people who are accustomed to eating all kind of sinful thing? I remember, I will never forget this. In August 2009, that is when Krishna made me realize there is only consciousness, there is nothing else in this world. And the day I have to leave, actually my family was there in UK. They are supposed to come because Bisakha, her passport I have never seen, is written male. And she has gone from here and we never saw that it is male. और हम भी इतना बुद्धू है, because that girl from Frank Schweizer's place, she is saying, you have two daughters, one boy. I'm saying no. And when I saw, I was so stupid. We could have gone exactly like that because nobody checked, Nobody checks you whether you are a boy or a girl. And such a stupidity was. But anyway, because they were not there, and I have to think about, and in my percolation of how Krishna everywhere became very, because that's all I could meditate. And so when I will be leaving Zurich, and that time I invited Frank and his wife. I made many items, and these people they ate. And this, not only they liked it, they ate it, and after that, Frank's wife took everything that was there. Okay? And whenever I went to Zurich, Frank and his wife, they will take me to vegetarian. What is that?
हम भी गए थे ना.
तू भी गया था क्या?
अरे सबसे oldest hotel.
It is being. This is the oldest vegetarian thing.
1800 something.
Yeah. I have a dream to build a restaurant in every big cities. I don't know what's happening. I had this Ice Smriti. One of the main reason for Ice Smriti was to make a lot of money and build these big restaurants. And nothing happening. And my time is up. Jan and I had never seen or tested anything like this before. We felt immensely grateful to the Swami for going to so much trouble for us. After the feast, we headed back to our loft to continue the festivity with about 10 people who had attended the ceremony. Newly initiated Hayagriva, formerly Howard, loudly sang Indian mantras interspersed with the recitation of Wordsworth and Longfellow, the poets he taught when he was an English professor in Ohio. Joan told us about her cooking experience with the Swami. He is very friendly, isn't he? She said. When I arrived to help him cook, he gave me these lemony crackers and a chilled yogurt drink. He kept telling me to wash my hands. Yeah, the Swami always very clean, I said. He says being clean is part of being devotee of Krishna. Well, he kept noticing I was touching my mouth and he would ask me to wash my hands every time. I didn't even realize as I was doing it. He did so many things at once, all so quickly. You see, so many items he must have cooked within an hour or two, not more than that. That is called expert cook. So, we turned on the TV and watched Allen Ginsberg being interviewed by an uptight looking reporter. To our amazement, after a few minutes of question, he sat down and began chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra to the accompaniment of the small harmonium. It seemed an auspicious conclusion to our day. Despite the memorable quality of our wedding and the Swami's insistence that we never separate, there was a nagging feeling of impermanence about our marriage. Janaki was troubled by the Swami's suggestion that devotees should ultimately renounce their marriage partners and dedicate themselves 100% to God. She raised the issue with me one afternoon a few days after the wedding as we walked down Columbia Street toward the Delancey Street Bridge. This morning I asked the Swami if he would have to become a sannyasi one day. She said he renounced his wife and growing up children to become a man of God. So I wanted to know if he thought you would have to do that too. What did he say? He just laughed and said, yes, it seems like you're joking with me. You don't look very happy about it, I said. Well, how could I be? I don't think it is a laughing matter. Actually, if we have made a vow not to ever separate, how am I supposed to understand that one day you are supposed to become a monk? What will happen to me? Does the Swami think that our marriage won't work out or what? I don't really know very much about all that sannyasa stuff, I admitted. Parts of Vedic philosophy seem kind of contradictory to me too. That's not very helpful. This Krishna thing was your thing to begin with. I want to know how it's going to affect me in the future. I just don't know, Janaki, I said. The whole idea of becoming a renunciate is pretty hard to figure out. However, I look at it. But we are together in this now. We are married and initiated. You have been so supportive, even when I was going to have to go to jail for being a drug dealer. I think Krishna consciousness is changing our lives, but renunciation is not part of anything that I can see. So Janaki and Mukunda, they have some trouble in terms of looking into vision. But I think it was too premature to think long term. Anyway, so these are his, but I think this particular chapter I liked most when I read this book. So that is why I read, because this chapter describes Srila Prabhupada's first celebration of Janmashtami, and in his appearance day, he gave initiation 11 people. First 11. You should remember first 11. Right? First 11, he gave the initiation. And then next day, he also he conducted a marriage ceremony for Jan and Mukunda, because among his 11 disciples, these two are his disciples who were girlfriend and boyfriend, and others are all boys. So Prabhupada wanted to everything. He was very liberal. He was so liberal that he looked at the spirit. According to spirit, he changed the way principle of Krishna consciousness can be applied. And this is the power of an acharya. An acharya is capable. 64 rounds he made it to 16 rounds minimum. So many things Prabhupada did. If Prabhupada engaged, suppose we chant 64 rounds, then it means we cannot preach. And Prabhupada gave importance to preaching as well. So he said 16 rounds and preaching. So like that, there are so many adjustments Prabhupada made. And you saw that how many items he cooked on the day of this marriage ceremony. And so all these are wonderful things. Dear devotees, thank you very much for hearing. And so let us see some of your comments, how much you yourself value Srila Prabhupada in your life. You can put in your chat window, we can read here. You want to speak, you can also speak. How Howard became Hayagriva. Wali became Umapati. Umapati, he was I think senior most disciple of Prabhupada, but unfortunately, he was. I used to hear about him until 2005 or 6, maybe 2007. Anyway, Bill became Ravindra Sharup. He is there. Hayagriva, I don't know whether he is still there. Karl became Kalapati. Karlapati. Maybe they have made a mistake. I don't know. I don't want to. What is Karlapati? I don't know. But Kalapati is right. James became Jagannath. I don't think he is still there. Mike became Mukunda. Jan became Janaki. He is not there. Roy became Rayaram. Stanley became Tyadhisa. Another Stanley, a Brooklyn boy with a job, and Janos, a college student from Montreal, both of whom had rather peripheral relations with the Swami appeared that night and took initiation, with the rest receiving the name Satyavrata and Janardana and the first initiation. Venkataratnam, what made you realize that there is only consciousness in this world? That's a big story. And I had written what is Krishna consciousness on that basis of that story. You have to read that. Tanis Gupta, Dandavat Pranam, what do we mean by meditating on ourselves? How to do it, how we feel when we are doing. Please explain. We meditate on Krishna, not on self. Self is hidden. Self is hidden. Our approach is, one approach is that you meditate on yourself, which is very cumbersome, because then you have to perform very severe austerity. You may have to live many days simply drinking Ganges water, living along the bank of Ganga in the northern hemisphere of Indian subcontinent, in the along the path of Ganges. This is very tough. Whereas our approach is meditate on Krishna, please Guru and Krishna. Our meditation is pleasing. How do I please Guru and Krishna? So by that, we make our process very simple, because by meditating Guru and Krishna, what we are doing is, we are praying to Krishna, "Oh Krishna, please reveal me, who I am. Please make me realize myself as your servant." So that is our process of meditation. Our process of meditation is, we please Krishna, and the best way of pleasing Krishna is to chant purely. And then the holy name reveals my spiritual Swarupa. Sudhir Jalali Modi, sir, what exactly we have to keep in chat box? Our glorification of Srila Prabhupada, my relations with Srila Prabhupada, or anything else? Yeah, whatever you think. Prabhupada always says he is always in association of his Guru. He is never separated from him. Can you explain how to reach such a strong attachment to Guru and devotee? Actually, our process is, suppose I teach someone, right? So my spirit must be there in that person who's being taught by me. Similarly, Guru Parampara carries a spirit. How to spread Krishna consciousness, right? And one day I had told you, suppose I am singing Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, and I don't feel the presence of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That means I am artificially singing that, right? So, feeling the presence of Guru means when you are following his instruction, you are following his instruction, right? So, Guru Parampara they mean certain values. So, when we accept those values, then I should feel the Guru Parampara. Okay? So, I can give one example. I was in Avanthar. I have told many times how did I go to Avanthar, and suddenly I am there, and almost before mid-December I went there and stayed until end of December, until Sachinandan Maharaj came and did wonderful Sankirtan there. So I was alone, and I was reading and chanting. And every day I am the only person to be there for Mangala Arti, and 3-4 people will come and join. And and never missed 4 o'clock, sharp 4 o'clock in the temple. And one day I am sitting in the library. While sitting there, I saw there are many beautiful books. And I was reading. And once I was reading and I saw in the front nice portrait of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And seeing that portrait, I was transported. The way he completely sacrificed his life to propagate Krishna consciousness and his whole journey of purity. So, it is like that. If I see Bhaktivinoda Thakur and I don't see any of that he stood for within me, then there is no relationship. So, when what Guru stood for, you don't value it, then you can never feel the presence of your Guru. Guru is not some physical Bapu. Guru is a divine personality representing Krishna's transcendental free will or desire. He is fulfilling, certain desire he is fulfilling. And that is Guru. So when whatever my spirit, you are having that spirit as a teacher and as a student. That what is my spirit? My spirit is to take the juice of our parampara, assimilate it, internalize it, practice it, taste it, relish it, and then give it to others. Please take it. And normally, a teacher is always empowered to train a student, because that is what is Krishna's arrangement. Teacher knows in and out of a student. It's a mystical process. But the moment you make that process material, you can never make any progress in spiritual life. In the morning you said everything is scientific. Can you elaborate on this statement? What is everything is scientific?
Teaching people to say process you are serving.
Yeah.
Like while cleaning the vases.
Systematically do. Yes. You are mixing everything.
But
Right?
Yeah,
that means scientific means there is an order. Everything. When you cook also, we don't do haphazard. Everything parallelly being processed in the mind. Is Krishna is giving. When you are Krishna's instrument, everything is coming one after another. It's very scientific. Okay? That's the meaning. So when you are Krishna conscious, things will go in a very orderly way. When you are not Krishna conscious, you are ignorant, you are doing things without thinking. But when you are Krishna conscious, then things are well directed by Super Soul. When things are directed by Super Soul, then it is scientific. Okay? Sir, can you elaborate on there is only one consciousness in this world, everything is consciousness. You read that, I had written what is Krishna consciousness. Please read that and then discuss. Learn Gita, Live Gita website, this blog is there. Piyush Saigal. Tanix. What we mean by chanting purely? Why it happens that sometimes we feel taste in chanting, sometimes not? Because of anarthas within our heart. Because of our desire to enjoy separate from Krishna. Okay? So when we do things under the guidance of a teacher, then we will chant very nicely. Okay? We are doing things. Teacher says this, I have done this service. Like one of the things that we always learn once we come in contact with Srila Prabhupada's teaching, we have to chant 16 rounds early in the morning. If you have done, you are very happy. You have finished first thing. Following 4 regulative principles. Doing little bit of preaching. Going outside and talking to others. So this is called following the instructions of the spiritual master. So when we do it, see, I will tell you, it is not easy. Sometimes you will feel testy, sometimes you will feel difficult. I will give you example. You see, every day because I am a diabetic, I have to, after 2 hours of my eating food, I have to walk on the stairs, And when I started, I felt what is 10 times going up and down, 20 times going up and down, 30 times going up and down. It's like very easy. But when I started doing every day, then even doing, I have to go again. What is this nonsense? Why I have to go again? Right? So it is like that. Our mind has all impurities within it. So, when we are chanting sincerely, sometimes we are blocked by our mind. Mind doesn't allow us to chant. So you don't taste. We should chant using our spiritual intelligence. Then mind will not be a block. Mind will be immediately blocked if you are not you are chanting mechanically or without using your spiritual intelligence. Before you start chanting, you pray to Krishna, "Oh Krishna, I have no taste." So beg the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Guru Parampara. And then sometime when your chanting is not becoming nice, you can read some verses from Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita and motivate yourself. Why should you chant better? So like that. But it is a constant struggle. Even after 30, I started chanting by Krishna's arrangement. Suddenly this mantra came to me in 89. And 89, and this is 20. So 31 years. And I can tell you frankly, I don't have taste for chanting. Piyush Saigal, we heard a glorification by His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami that there was a Sikh devotee who left ISKCON to join a yogi to learn how to pass coins through years. When Maharaj asked if we should take any legal action against that devotee, as if he was still canvassing for money from their life members, Srila Prabhupada told Maharaj, "You have no idea how merciful is Lord Nityananda. His mercy has no bounds." Finally, that devotee came back and Srila Prabhupada even gave him sannyasa. Though he left again, Maharaj admitted that Srila Prabhupada is a representative of Lord Nityananda. He is truly Krishna Kripamurti. In his entire tenure, he hardly let anyone go, no matter what they did. Yes, when you are a pure devotee, you are not counting in terms of your personal benefit. You are only compassionate. For me, I am preaching not because I am compassionate. I am preaching because that is what is sustaining me. If I don't preach, I will be entering into Maya. So my preaching is different. Prabhupada's preaching is a preaching from the platform of compassion, pure compassion. Subhendu. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had many sannyasi disciples who got very close association, whereas Prabhupada was grihastha and had pharmacy. Sir, what are the qualities we should learn from Srila Prabhupada's success in fulfilling his Guru's order? You say, pure representatives are one thing, and conditioned living beings are one thing. Prabhupada was a pure representative. He is a Nitya Parikara of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu. So he came here to preach, to take this thing. It doesn't matter whether he would have become a Grihastha or a sannyasi, it doesn't matter. He is an eternal servant. He is not like one of us. So we have to see in that way. Of course, when he was a Grihastha and all those things, people may not have noticed it. And when Prabhupada made Krishna consciousness a global brand, and then people realize he is Nitya Parikara. And so many, his own god brother, Sridhar Swami, he in fact said Prabhupada is Nityananda Avesha. Okay. So this is so your question was what should learn from Srila Prabhupada? That is the moment your question says, suppose you want to imitate Srila Prabhupada, we will fail. Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee. And even if Srila Prabhupada would not have made this a global brand, he is a pure devotee anyway. There are many, many pure devotees, even within ISKCON. They are not known, they are not GBC, they are not temple president, they are not high profile personalities. But in general in society, we always appreciate, oh, he is GBC, oh, he is Guru, or he is, sannyasi. But there are pure devotees without these qualities as well. Okay. And there are people like that. I have noticed, I have met so many people over last 30 years within ISKCON, and I have seen dedication of different categories of people. So they may not be known to others, but then they serve with full sincerity. So what is important is, it is very important for us is to render service in a very low profile. For 31 years, I have tried my best to do that. Never accept any high profile. But in that profile, you can do lot of service. So give focus on doing service, then thinking that whether success will come or not. Anmol Avasthi, we sometimes feel that it is very easy to connect with Krishna, appreciate his Lila and love him. But how to develop same attachment for Srila Prabhupada and his pastimes and love him with all our heart? I don't think that I started appreciating Krishna without appreciating Prabhupada. For me, Prabhupada Lila is the single most motivation to appreciate who is Krishna. But suppose somebody doesn't have appreciation for Prabhupada, then you have to ask the same question that someone asked, no? That what does it mean to be able to feel the presence of Guru? So that means if suppose you are feeling that you are attracted to Krishna and you know the truth of Krishna, then you have to ask from where you got that truth. So if you cannot get that truth from Krishna directly, you get from someone. So then you have to think, how did you get that? And if you don't feel the presence of that person, Suppose you are attracted to Krishna. How I am getting attracted to Krishna? Who made me to attract Krishna in a proper way? So if the Guru is not the first person that is there in my attraction to Krishna, most likely that may be a temporary phase for your life. So this is a very serious thing. I don't think that we can think about Krishna consciousness without Prabhupada. As far as I am concerned, I cannot think Krishna consciousness without Prabhupada. It is very difficult. It is so inseparable. That's why Sakhyadharitvena, Samasta Sastre. So Guru must be appreciated as good as we appreciate Krishna. Prabhupada did exactly what the world needs, that is preaching in the West, that too at the right time. In my life, I have not seen these Westerners taking up Krishna consciousness so seriously. I would never be interested in spiritual life. Prabhupada's lectures are so powerful that he explained most difficult and topmost philosophy in very simple language. These are realization of our Sarvagya Gauranga. Oh wonderful Prabhupada, you are most merciful that you have delivered the most fallen people all over the world and gave them the highest benediction that no one can ever dream. There is no limit to your glories. Lakhs of devotees all around the world are trying to describe your glories from years and years, and still they are not able to reach the shore of the limit. I am also presently most fallen, even though in the guise of a devotee. My only hope is your mercy. Please mercifully shower your mercy on this fallen soul, without which my life is just useless. I am just praying that I should be always hankering for your mercy and nothing else. I also pray you to give me some taste for your books such that I will always relish in these transcendental literature. Thank you. Thank you, Sudhir, for your sharing, for sharing your feeling or your belongingness in Prabhupada's family. Thank you very much. Professor Santosh Kumar is saying, although I have many centers that would be suitable places of residence, I cannot stay anywhere, for I have been cursed by the parents of my young disciples. If my young disciples, especially those who have taken sannyasa, take charge of traveling all over the world, it may be possible for me to transfer the curse of parents to these young preachers. Then I may sit down conveniently in one place for work of translation. Srila Prabhupada's humility. This is being shared by Santosh Kumar. Santosh is Sachidananda Vigraha Das, working in Krish. He had a good job in Qualcomm and gave up that because I told him. And he has come here and is very fortunate. He is staying almost 2 years or so there. Thank you so much for sharing this, Sachidananda Vigraha Das. Tanis Gupta, thank you Prabhuji. Radhakant Das, we heard one lecture by Srila Prabhupada today in which he repents for not immediately following Srila Prabhupada's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in 1922. At the age of 69, then he says better late than never. Is there any reason why Srila Prabhupada started preaching at such an advanced age? How nice it would have been had he started earlier. You see, everything is happening by Krishna's plan. It's not your plan or my plan. Sometimes someone is used from a young age and someone is used at old age. So let us leave that to Krishna's sweet will. And we cannot find an answer to that. Professor Venkataratnam is saying, Prabhupada came down from Uttam Adhikari platform to Madhyama to preach. What we should understand from this, or how can we understand its importance? Importance is compassion. Out of compassion, he called some spiritualist as dog to teach us how rascal they are. Radhakandas, the first book you gave me to read March 2002 is Srila Prabhupada Lila Amrita. Yes, Lila Amrita. In March 1993, I think 13th of March or 14th of March, I am forgetting. You can look at it, 93 March, which is Saturday, Sunday. Can people figure out 93 March, Saturday, Sunday? I think that is either 13th, 14th March. We first visited, Krishnan sir took us. He hired our school college bus. Bus took us. Everything he arranged. We didn't know anything. We were told that you have to reach the bus depot within our college before 5 o'clock. So we reached at 5 o'clock. And then 7 o'clock there was Taj Express. We went there. And then from there we took Tanga and reached temple. That time Kadamakanan Maharaj came out and he gave an address. We went to a specific ashram. That ashram was booked by the temple. Temple paid for it. We didn't pay. And I was allotted a room. I shared that room with Sir himself. So I was on the moon. I was feeling, wow, how fortunate I am. And but that trip was all about Westerners. You see the temple, there are no Indians, only Western bodies. You will never see that scene. Vrindavan was just a village. The sand, in a parikrama marg, there are many places. The moment you walk, your leg will go so deep, you will be almost up to knee. The sand will cover you up to knee. And Jamuna was fascinating. It was fascinating. And we did a Sankirtan that was led by one African devotee and then Krishnan sir. We did a Sankirtan. We started from our Krishna Balaram temple. And all the temples, 6 Goswami temple we covered. We are all dancing. And we didn't know when we came back, we are still living or dying. Or we are completely unconscious. And then we realized that we have to attend a class. And that class is the temple president, Kadamakanan Maharaj. So we cannot sleep also now. But we realized that the Kadamakanan Maharaj, he gave a class for the kids, school students, college students. That we can appreciate what is Krishna consciousness. So he gave many embarrassing situations that we face in this material world, including, in public places, you pass air. How embarrassed you become. So like that, he gave so many examples. We felt we are very tired, but by his words we were laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. Wow. And then he would personally come and see that we are drinking milk. It was a very, 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 very intimate. Maybe I should sometime write about it. I didn't write. I should have written about it. Now also if I write, it will go to pages. My first trip to Vrindavan. One of the things that first trip happened is now Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj. That time his name is Raghuvar Prabhu. He gave the Bhagavatam class. And that was on Sunday morning Bhagavatam class he gave. And then he was the guide for Vrindavan darshan. And so sir had arranged different rickshaws. Those days you will not find autos or this. Rickshaw and tanga. So, and sir was so compassionate to me, he made me sit with Raghuvar Prabhu, now Bhakti Chaitanya Swami. And I was so stupid. And I asked, he asked me my name. I said, my name is Lakshmidhara. And then I remained, and then he heard and he remained silent. I thought, why he became silent? So I became little popped. I said, do you understand what is meaning of Lakshmidhara? So then he explained to me what is Lakshmidhara. Then I felt very bad. And so, and then, it's all about, for me, all these Western devotees. And then, Lila Amrita. We covered, then the summer came, sir went for because he was a green card holder, he has to go every year, 3 months at least to America. So he left in the summer. So we were reading. And we had a competition, we had a group of people, we had a competition. I finished part 1. Somebody will say, I finished part 2. Somebody will say, I'm in now part 3. And I remember we had 6 parts. So we completed. And the most fascinating when we were reading those days of Lilamrita was these 3 Grihastha couple coming to London and making Hare Krishna a household name in entire Europe as well as entire Western countries. That was the peak. And because of Lilamrita, I think Tamal Krishna Maharaj became my favorite hero, the greatest hero. So Lilamrita, yes, we didn't see Indian devotees. We saw always Western devotees. Every time we went to Vrindavan, we will see in Prabhupada quarter, one Western devotee sitting there playing the harmonium and playing this Krishna Kirtana Nama Kirtana. Krishna, our Sadgoswami Astakam, somebody is singing. You will find it was like a spiritual world. Everybody is very serious. Everybody is practicing so nicely. You could feel their dedication is 100%. And that's why I read Lilamrita, to know more about them. What made them this dedicated? Who made them? So this is the fascination of Lilamrita. Abhay Chaitanya, the pastimes of Prabhupada that attracts a lot are, in childhood, his request to his father to build a chariot to celebrate Jagannath Rath Yatra, his meeting with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Ultadanga, and immediately being inspired by him, his lifetime of preparation to fulfill the instruction of his Guru, his earnest request to Sumati Morarji to allow him to go to US. Even before the movement started, he saw many temples, many devotees throughout the world. When we see him translating the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, even when he was about to disappear, anyone can see his ultimate compassion for all of us. The first book I read in Krishna consciousness is Chaitanya Charitamrita, condensed. And the second book I read is Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, condensed. Radhakandas. The conclusion is that a disciple or an offspring who is very strong devotee can carry him to Vaikuntha Loka, either his father, mother, or Sikhya or Dikhya Guru. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, if I could perfectly deliver even one soul back to Godhead, I would think my mission, propagating Krishna consciousness, to be successful. The Krishna consciousness movement is spreading now all over the world. Sometimes I think that even though I am crippled in many ways, if one of my disciples become as strong as Dhruva Maharaj, then he will be able to carry me with him to Vaikuntha Loka. Another beautiful example of Srila Prabhupada purport, 4.12.33, humility. This is the sharing of Radhakant Das. Thank you all, Radhakant, and then Abhay Chaitanya and Anmol Avasthi. 6th March 1993 was Saturday, so it is 13. I just see.
13.
So I exactly remember 13 and 14. 13 and 14. Saturday, Sunday. And I'll tell you one bravado. Me and Krishnangi Mataji, Krishnan sir's wife, we have gone to Vrindavan for some purchasing, and also we have to bring some books for distribution. And so the task that takes us, so we will go in the morning, we will do everything, and the evening we will come back. So you see, those days, our dealing with Vrindavan is like that. You can go early morning and again return by 9 o'clock from Vrindavan. So we did the shopping and everything, and we collected all the books, and we are becoming late. And then I told Mataji that the train is standing, and I think this stands in platform 3 or 4 or something. I said we should not go via the main platform, because then we'll miss it. So wherever the rickshaw kept us, so I hold that entire box, huge box, at least to my experience, it is not less than 25 to 30 kilo. I put on my head, and I told Mataji, you just walk, follow me. I am just going, you follow me. And I don't know, many of you may not be knowing, Krishnangi Mataji was a graduate degree holder from New York State University. She was quite, she would have stayed in America, she would have earned a lot by now. But by practicing Krishna consciousness, she decided that she would remain a housewife instead of working. These are all great examples. Krishnan sir, Krishnangi Mataji, their example also made us to become so dedicated. So we, and I'm seeing that already there is a horn of the train, and train may leave anytime. And we are rushing. And then I saw it is already started. I told Mataji, you just enter into. And then I put my bag, and then I put the bag on the train, and train now has started. So now, somehow I hold on and entered into the train. So we have done all these things. So it is, no, see, I made her first to enter into the train. So that is what you first do. Okay. So this is Krishna consciousness. I have never felt that any time in Krishna consciousness the life is boring. In fact, if we have not taken challenge in Krishna consciousness, that makes us boring. That makes us boring. Like yesterday was Janmashtami. Finally, our agreement in Jharkhand was done. Means the land is now ready to be registered for ISKCON. It's a matter that now we have to. So, but I don't know, 1500 acres, how it will be developed, we don't know. How this will happen, we don't know. It is in a very remote area, interior. There are no road there. The roads are curvilinear, you have to go cover a longer distance. But from the highway, it is only 3 kilometers. So many things. Piyush Saigal, Srila Prabhupada has shared so many desires for his disciple to fulfill. Can you please share what in your realization are that 2 top or 3 things of all his dreams that it will fulfill would please him the most? First dream is to establish Krishna consciousness as a science. Prabhupada established BI for that reason. And I think that is one of the very important. So we are actually trying now to start a cognitive science department, and as well as theology and school of theology and Sanskrit studies, and slowly we'll introduce many other things also in our Vrindavan Gurukul campus. We are in touch with Chandigarh University and Lucknow University for affiliation. Hopefully by 2021 July, our first program would start. I request Tanishq to hopefully Tanishq's 12th will be over by that time. So Tanishq can join in our 4-year cognitive science program. So this is, I think this is one. And the second is Prabhupada wanted a life beyond city life. And if you look at our Jharkhand project, the main inspiration is that. And COVID pandemic is actually telling now, these so-called cities with 3 crore, 4 crore population is not the way of life. The way of life must be in a very small township, education-oriented township. So this is in Jharkhand we are going to build a university campus, but a self-sustained university campus. So that was but it is, it's a, so I would say that we must contribute to the society in terms of a betterment of the society. Then people will accept us. Preaching is wonderful, but then building institute are so important. If you have strong institute, like America is no more a politics, people are fighting. America means NASA. America means their defense. America means the universities like Harvard, MIT. America means, the so-called, of course, these are global companies like Apple, Microsoft, IBM, Amazon. So, institutes. Similarly, Prabhupada wanted us to build strong institutes. Strong institutes. Okay, we should stop now. This is already 10:24. Thank you very much for being with us. And I hope that you will take Srila Prabhupada's mission very seriously and make your life successful. Hare Krishna.